In this video, I'll show you how to set up, install, and use Hermes Agent. This is a relatively new AI agent platform or orchestration tool that is kind of a competitor to OpenClaw. It is significantly better in many ways, as I'll get into in this video. And by the end of this tutorial, you'll have a fully functioning Hermes bot that you can use to schedule tasks, autonomously complete things, remind you, respond to Slack messages, whatever it is that you want. You'll be able to set it up following this guide. Let's get started. Okay. So first, let's talk about what Hermes Agent is, because this is a little bit different than OpenClaw, but the differences are kind of nuanced, so I think it's worth going through. Now, I just want to read this directly from the website. This is a self-improving AI agent that's built by Nos Research. I don't know exactly how you say that. And this is the only agent with a built-in learning loop. Now, this is the main thing that distinguishes this from various other tools like OpenClaw. This will automatically improve itself, create new skills, create new scheduled tasks, and it has some special programming so that it will keep updating its memories and kind of just keep track of things better than something like OpenClaw does. So like you can read here, it says it creates skills from experience, improves them during use, nudges itself to persist knowledge, and builds a deepening model of who you are across sessions. So as you use this more and more, it actually gets better and improves, and that is in stark contrast to tools like OpenClaw that actually can get worse over time based on how the memory system is set up. Now, OpenClaw can be a little bit more useful if you want multiple different channels connected to multiple different agents, and you want to do some stuff that's super advanced. However, if you're just looking for one primary agent that you're going to be interacting with, chatting with, is going to be reminding you of things, etc., then I would go with Hermes Agent. And of course, I'm going to show you how to set it up here. Now, like OpenClaw, this agent has access to the full computer, meaning it can open your browser, it can run terminal commands, it can delete a file, it can create a new directory. So you need to be very careful about the security. Now, for that reason, I always recommend running this on a dedicated hardware device. Now, this doesn't need to be your own device. In fact, I always suggest using a virtual private server because it's very cheap, it's disposable, it's easy to set up and run, and it runs 24/7 without you really needing to do anything and worry about power outages, fires, theft, robbery, all of the things that can occur if you have actually your own device sitting in your office running these kinds of agents that are connected to sensitive data. That said, you can absolutely still run this on something like a Mac Mini or your own laptop, but make sure you have a separate dedicated device that is not connected to any of your sensitive data, doesn't have access to credit cards, passwords, any of that stuff. You want to be very careful when you're running these autonomous AI agents and systems. And for that reason, again, I recommend a virtual private server, but I will leave it up to you. If you want to run local models, probably better with your own hardware device, but it's going to be a lot more expensive to set that up. If you don't care and you just want something spun up very quickly that's going to be reliable in the long term, then go with the VPS. You can use any provider that you want, but for this video, I'm going to show you how to set it up using Hostinger, who I have a long-term partnership with. They're one of the best VPS providers on the market, have very affordable plans, and have a one-click install option for all of the popular kind of AI agent frameworks like Hermes Agent. So rather than having to do the setup yourself, you can actually just press this one button, which is what I'm going to do right here. It will then deploy a new Hermes Agent bot for you with all of the setup done, and then you can go through the rest of the steps like I will show you. So what I'm going to do here is go and select the plan. KVM2 is personally what I recommend. I'll leave a link to it in the description. I'm going to press on deploy, and then I'm going to go through this process. Now from here, I'm going to select the duration of the plan. I'll leave it at 24 months. And if you do at least 12 months for the duration, then you can use the discount code TECHWITHTIM, which is exclusively available because of the partnership I have with Hostinger, which will give you an additional 10% off. From here, you can choose if you want to have a daily auto backup or not, and then choose the server location. In my case, I will go with United States, and then press continue and deploy. Now, when you're deploying this, you'll be brought to a page that looks something like this, where it will just show you the admin username and the admin password. You can just copy the admin password to make it easier later. However, if you don't copy it or you forget it, don't worry. I'll show you how you can find this. Anyways, I'm going to go next. I'm going to get this provisioned, and I'll be right back once this is finished being deployed. Now, while this is being deployed, I will mention that if you do want to run this on your own device or you want to run it on a different provider, again, it's totally up to you. What you're going to do instead of what I just did is you're going to run this manual curl command here. Now, this is directly from the documentation. I'll leave a link to it in the description. If you're on Linux, Mac, or using WSL on Windows, which is the way you'll need to install this, you just copy this curl command. If you're on Android or Termux here, then you're going to run this command. Now, once you run this command, it's going to automatically bring you into an interactive kind of configuring, like, I don't know, flow, dashboard, whatever you want to see. That's going to be the exact same thing that we'll see here once the VPS is deployed. So you'll be able to follow along exactly, and it's kind of agnostic in this video what provider you're using. Again, if you're doing it manually, you use this command. If you're using Hostinger, follow along with me, and I'm going to show you in just one second. All right, so we can see the VPS is almost finished being deployed here. It's currently spinning up multiple Docker containers, and it's running the Hermes agent inside of a Docker container to keep it isolated on the virtual private server. Don't worry if you don't understand what Docker is or how to use it. You don't actually need to SSH into the server or do anything like that. It's going to create an interactive web dashboard that you can just press into and provide the username and password that we saw before to manage the instance, which I'm going to show you. Okay, so the VPS is fully deployed, and what we're going to do here is just press on this open button in our Docker manager. So it should just bring you this page, but if it doesn't, go to Docker manager and then press on open. And from here, you're going to be prompted for the username and password. Now, the default username is Hermes unless you've changed that. And to find the password, if you don't already have it copied, you can go to manage. And then you can scroll down. Let's wait a second here. You can go to environment, and then you can just copy the admin password here. Obviously, don't share it with other people, and understand that this is available publicly on the internet. So if you're sharing this URL and then these credentials, other people will be able to access your bot, which is obviously not ideal and could lead to security issues. Now, once you do that, it's going to bring you to kind of a web-based interactive terminal here, and this will be the same setup that you'll see in your own terminal if you're running this on your own computer. Now from here, what we're going to do is just go with quick setup. So we're going to hit enter, and we're going to choose the model provider that we want to use. Now you could use any provider that you want, but you do need to pick at least one. Now I'm going to go with OpenAI Codex because it is the most cost effective, and I do have the $200 per month plan, but you can go with anything that you want, and you probably already know one of the options. If you want a recommendation, I suggest OpenAI Codex. I also quite like the Minimax models, which are also very cost effective. So I'm going to go here to OpenAI Codex and press space. I'm going to copy the URL that it gives me here and put that in my browser. I'm then going to copy the code that it has here, and I'm going to paste this as soon as I sign in. Okay, so I'm just pasting the code, pressing continue, and then if I go back here, we should see the sign in will complete in a second. It says we're signed in, and I can go ahead and select my model. I'm going to use the arrow keys to do this and select GPT 5.4 because that is the current best model. Next, we can set up messaging. In order to do this, I can just press the space key where it says set up messaging. I'm going to go with Telegram, but you can use any of the methods that you want here. Slack and Discord are going to be a little bit more complicated, where you're going to have to create a bot, which takes a few more steps. Telegram is what I would recommend for all of the beginners. If you've not done something like this before, it is still going to be quite powerful and give you all of the features that you need. So from Telegram, we're going to press space right here. So press space, don't press enter. You got to press space first and then press enter. Then when you do that, it's going to ask you for a Telegram bot token. Now, in order to get this, we're going to open up our Telegram application. It can be on your computer, it can be on your phone, it doesn't matter. We're going to go to the search bar here, and we're going to search for a bot called Bot Father. Now we're looking for one that has this blue check mark here, and inside of the message tab, we're going to type /new bot like so. This is going to create a new Telegram bot. Let's press enter. And the next thing we're going to do is give this a username. This is the display name, so what you'll see when you're chatting with it. So I'm going to go with Hermes tutorial or something, okay? You can do whatever you want. Now, after you do the display name, which doesn't need to be unique, you're going to choose the username, which does need to be unique. So I'm going to go with Hermes tutorial bot, 234 _ bot. And make sure that you end in _bot. That's a requirement for the username. Okay, now I'm going to press enter, assuming the username is not taken, because again, it needs to be unique across all of Telegram. It will create the bot for you, and you're going to be looking for this bot token, okay? So again, I know I went fast there. You're going to type /new bot, you're going to give it a name, you're going to give it a username, and then you're going to copy this bot token right here, and you're going to paste it where it asks for the Telegram bot token. When you paste it, you will not see any output, so don't worry about that and just press enter. Okay, now after this, it's going to ask you to pass in some allowed user IDs. Now, it's very important that you pass at least one user ID here, because if you don't, it's going to leave the bot open, meaning anyone can message it. Now, the way that you can find your user ID is you can go to Telegram and you can search for user info bot. Okay, exactly like this. You're going to look for the one that looks like this, that has kind of this blue crown. And from here, you can simply type /start, and then it will give you your user ID. So just wait a second, it should give me the result, and you can see it shows my ID right here. So we're going to copy that ID, okay, and we're just going to paste it here. Now, if you wanted multiple other people to be able to message your bot, you would simply put a comma and then put their user IDs as well. You can ask them, they'll give it to you by, again, following the step. If you just go to Telegram, message this bot, and then it will reply with the ID. Again, make sure you put at least one. This will be the only person who can message your bot, or a list of people who can message it. So we're going to hit enter, and now it's going to ask to use our user ID as the home channel. We're going to go with yes. Okay, from here, everything is going to be configured, and now we're going to be able to actually start chatting with our bot. Now, you'll see that there's a bunch of different commands here, so we can add additional models, we can set up the gateway, we can configure tools, right? And we'll start doing that in a minute, but for now, we just want to make sure this is working. So to test this directly from the terminal, first of all, we could just hit yes, because it will launch this automatically, and it should bring us into what's called the TUI, or the Terminal User Interface. Now from here, we can just type something like hello world, and then it should give us a response. And assuming that it does give us a response, we're good to go, and this means it's set up properly. Now there's also a list of / commands that you can run. I recommend having a look at them, even though there is quite a few, and you'll see that we can do something like /new, right? This will create a new session, /reset, /clear. So if you're curious and you want to just take a look at what can I do with this, go through a list of these commands. You'll see there's probably about 100 of them by default. I obviously can't cover them all, and that's going to give you a good sense of what's possible just right out of the box. Now to get out of this, I'm going to hit Control-C, and if for some reason, so Control-C on the keyboard, by the way, both of those at the same time, and if for some reason you're back in your terminal where you're running this and you want to get back into the terminal user interface, then you're just going to run Hermes again. Okay, and if you do that, it should bring you back into the UI, and then same thing, you can hit Control-C to get out of that. Okay. So now I want to show you how to message this from Telegram, because yes, the whole reason we created on Telegram is so we don't need to be in the user interface and we can message it from our phone. We can get a response later. That's the goal. So in order to do this from Telegram, we're just going to go to the bot father. We're going to just press this link right here, which is the username of our bot. We just need to send a message to the username effectively, and we can just press on start. Now you're going to notice right away that actually nothing will happen here and the bot's not going to be responsive. The reason for that is we need to start the gateway. So to start the gateway, we're just going to type Hermes gateway. Okay, this is the command. We have to be out of the terminal user interface, just in our main kind of terminal, right? So we're going to hit enter here, and it's going to start the gateway. Now, when it starts the gateway, we'll soon be able to message the bot. So we can just say hello, and we should see in a second here that the bot will start typing, and then we get something popping up in the terminal because we were able to actually forward that message over. So you can see, gives us the reply and says, hey, Tim, how can I help? Okay, so now if we want to be able to message the bot from Telegram or any other messaging channel, this gateway needs to be running. If I stop running it by hitting Control-C, I'll no longer be able to message it from this, right? And I'll need to rerun this command with Hermes gateway in order to be able to interact with it from Telegram. Okay, now I'm just going to close this for right now, and I'm just going to show you that if you want to add another messaging channel, for example, you can type Hermes, and then I believe the command is going to be something like channels. Okay, actually channels is not correct, but this will give us a good way of seeing the commands. You can see that it will actually just give us a list of the valid options that we can choose. So we have model, gateway, setup. So let's go Hermes setup like this. And now from here, we'll be able to, mess with the message platforms, the tools, the agent settings, the model and the provider, go into the full setup, right? And change any of the settings. So if you do want to change something, just type Hermes setup. If we want to change the messaging platform, right, we go here, and then we could enable any other one by, again, using the spacebar. If we want to get out of this, we can press escape, and it will bring us back. And I'm just going to go, no, I don't want to reconfigure Telegram, and we're good to go. Now, another good command to be aware of is that if for some reason something goes wrong, your agent is not responsive, it's not working anymore, you can type the Hermes doctor command. This is just going to do a quick check of all of the configuration files, and if there's any issues, it will tell you what they are so you can fix them. And you can then go to an AI agent, ask it, hey, how do I fix this? It will give you the result. So if we type Hermes doctor here, you can see it's going to check everything. It says everything is fine. We're missing one kind of file right here. There's a few tools that are not configured because we don't have Docker, we don't have browser tools, whatever, right? And you can see that, again, we're missing some things here for example, doing reinforcement learning, for doing some types of messaging, for doing web search. Now, it gives us a list of issues here on things that we could do. We don't need to set all of them up, but there are a few things that I will want to add. So this agent only becomes useful when it actually can do something, right? Now, by default, there is a bunch of skills that are built into this Hermes agent. Now, if you want to see the skills, you can just go to the Hermes agent website and go to skills, go to built-in, and you'll see that there's a long list. Now, again, not all of these are going to work out of the box because some of them require API keys, some of them require additional setups, but there are quite a few that will just work by default. So you can quickly just have a look at these here if you want to see what just comes in the box, right, that you can use, like doing YouTube content, right, like creating outlines, like doing weights and biases, Unsloth, Notion, right? All of these tools are connected and, again, just require a little bit of setup on your side. Now, there's also a whole hub of skills that you can just copy and have Hermes agent automatically create for you, or copy into the tool, or you can connect Hermes agents to this skill hub where it can pull down skills and use ones that are already created. Now, I personally don't recommend doing that. If you need a skill, you should just find the one you need and then tell the bot to create it, which we'll look at in 1 second. You want to be careful with just connecting this to the open internet and letting, any skill be pulled down, which could potentially be malicious. And that's the main thing to mention here as we get into more setup. Be very, very careful what you add to this bot, what you give it access to, and what you trust it with. You really should give it separate accounts. You should not connect it to your main email, to your main Google Drive. While that seems useful, it can be very harmful if the bot makes a mistake. And there's been situations where bots have deleted an entire Google Drive, which you wouldn't want to be on the receiving end of. All right, so regardless, let's move on and let's add some capabilities to this bot. Now, the first capability that I'm going to suggest we add is Firecrawl. Now, you can just go to the Firecrawl website. I'll leave a link to it in the description, and you can create a new account. It is free. Once you make that account, you'll be brought to a page that looks like this. You're going to press the button that says, hand it to my AI agent, go continue, and you're just going to copy this API key. Now, once we have this API key, we're going to go back to our Hermes agent, and I'm going to run a command that's going to set the Firecrawl API key, which will allow the agent to browse the web. Now, there's various other ways that the agent can browse the web. For example, it can use browser use, it can use browser base, it can use a local browser if you're running on a physical device like a real Mac as opposed to a virtual private server. But Firecrawl is the easiest to set up and the one that most of you should probably just start with until you go to something paid or more complex to configure. Okay, so what we're going to do here to enable web search, again, this gives your bot the ability to search the web, is we're going to type Hermes config set firecrawl _ API _ key, and we're going to paste the API key, okay? So we're going to go here and press on enter. Now make sure that you type this exactly as I have. Specifically, this variable, firecrawl API key, needs to be spelled exactly like this. As soon as you add this key, Hermes will automatically have the ability to interact with Firecrawl, but to make this work a little bit better, we're going to go to this skill.md section from the Firecrawl website and press save, or just copy it, okay? We're going to copy that to our clipboard. We're just going to go continue. We're going to accept the terms, and then we're just going to go with the free plan for right now. There's no need for us to subscribe to anything, and we can just press get started and leave it as is, okay? And then, of course, you can pay more if you want to upgrade to an additional plan. All right, now what I'm going to do is go back to the Hermes agent, and what I'm going to do is go to actually run the gateway. So I'm going to say Hermes gateway. So now the gateway is running. I can message it from Telegram, and what I want to do is add the Firecrawl skill, and this is where we'll start talking about skills. So I'm going to say the following: hi, I want to add the following skill. Please create it for me. Okay. So I'm just going to use that, and then I'm going to paste in the skill. Now this skill, again, I copied directly from Firecrawl. They have one by default. You can see what this skill looks like. And what is a skill? Well, a skill is essentially a repeatable workflow that your AI agent can reference whenever it needs to do something specific. Skills will only appear to the AI agent as their name and their description. It won't load the entire context, which you can see is quite large, unless it decides to actually utilize that skill. So Hermes agent will automatically improve and build its own skills, and these skills will be referenced over time so the agent gets better. This is in contrast to it trying to guess how to do something every single time. You're now giving it a reference of, hey, this is exactly the process you should follow. It will then see, okay, I have this skill. All right, let me load the skill up. Okay, I need to do this. And it's just more repeatable and gives it a much more consistent behavior. So anytime you're doing something that's really repeatable, you want to wrap it into a skill. This agent should automatically do that for you. But if it doesn't, like in our case, we're adding a skill manually, we just tell it, hey, make this new skill, and it will make it. So I'm going to go ahead and press enter here. Now, while it's doing this, I'll just mention that the thing that I'm using to dictate, because you guys always ask for this, is called Whisper Flow. So when I'm talking into the computer like this, as you can see, and then it's automatically giving me this kind of AI voice dictation, that's the tool. It is free to use. It is the best AI voice dictation I have ever used, and pretty much everyone is using right now. I'm a power user. I have over 100,000 words, and I'll leave a link to it in the description because fortunately I have a long-term partnership with them. The main benefit is just faster, more accurate, can automatically format your text, and then saves all of your transcriptions. So in case you lose it or you had it in the wrong text box, it's all there. Again, very, very good. You guys will see for yourself. Okay. So now it's said that it has created this skill for us. Don't worry about anything else is mentioning here. So I'm with the API key for now. This is fine. And what we can do here is just test to see if this is working. So I'm going to say, can you just do a quick search for Tech with Tim and just give me the first result that you get? Okay. And I'm just going to type enter here, and let's see if it can use the Firecrawl skill now to search for information about me and give us a response. Okay, and you can see the first result is, of course, my YouTube channel. It pops up and it gives me the response using Firecrawl. And you can see that it did the web search for Tech with Tim. Okay, so the next thing that I want to do here is add voice. Now, this will allow us to speak using the natural voice dictation here inside of Telegram, and then to get a voice response back. So not like the text dictation I was using, but actually like a voice message. Now, in order to do this, I'm just going to go over to the Hermes agent docs, and I'm going to go to features, and I'm going to try to find, media and web, and then voice mode. Now, from voice mode, the way that you can set this up is pretty straightforward, but effectively what we're going to do is copy this command right here, which says pip install Hermes agent all. Okay, now we're just going to go to our terminal or to our Telegram here, and we're going to tell the bot the following. Please run this command. If the command does not work, then add any dependencies and install anything that's required to make it work, and then execute it. Okay, and then I'm going to paste this here. Now I'm going to go ahead and press on enter, and notice that I told it, hey, like figure it out. If it makes a mistake, if it's not working, just install itself. And now it should just be able to install it for us. So at this point, like once we start getting this setup done, we don't really need to go back to the terminal. We can just message the bot, and it should be able to make all of the changes for us, which is the big benefit of it being able to run commands. Okay, now this is taking a while, so while this is running, I'm just going to find the next command that we need, which is the system dependencies. Now, if you're on Mac, you're going to need these commands here, and if you're on Ubuntu or Debian, you're going to need these. Now, you can run them directly yourself by just doing it in the terminal, right? Or you can just tell the agent to run it for you. So we're going to go back to Telegram. I'm just going to paste it in and say run these commands. Okay, and we'll just wait for this command to finish, and then we'll execute these. Sometimes it can take a while because it is installing a lot of stuff. Now, while that runs, I will mention that you can change the provider that you're using for voice, for the text-to-speech, speech-to-text, etc. You can use something like 11 Labs, which you would need to pay for. You can change the key that you're using for Grok or the OpenAI tools, but you don't need to set any of these environment variables. By default, it will just use local models, which are cheap, free, fast, and easy to run, so you don't need to manage any of these. But I just want to note that there are a ton of configurations here. You can do really a lot of stuff in terms of setting like the speech, the text, the delay patterns. Like it's crazy the amount of config that you have. So if you really care a lot about voice, go in, read the docs, and you'll find some more options. But in this case, we've already set up the voice. It should be working. And now the way that we can test it is by using this little voice icon here in Telegram. Hey, can we test to see if the voice message is working? Okay, so I've just sent it an audio message here. It should just take a second. It does need to process. Obviously, it's slower than if you send text. And you can see it says, yep, your voice message worked. And then what it's going to do is give me the response here. So we can see this message. Let me play it.
Yep, your voice message worked. I received it and transcribed. Hey, can we test to see if the voice message is working?
Okay, and you can see that we get the response. And if we talk with voice, it will give us voice back. There we go, voice is enabled. Now, the next thing that I want to quickly look at is cron jobs. So where this becomes even more useful is that it can do something on a schedule or trigger based on an event. Now, you can have this obviously respond to Slack messages or respond to like a webhook event that's a little bit more complex to set up. But for most people, they're going to be best off by just having some kind of incremental event. So for example, every Friday at 2 p.m., remind me that I need to go to the gym, right? You can have the bot do that for you. Every morning, I want you to go research AI and give me the 3 top trending topics I need to know about. Every day, I want you to go to my Google Drive, find the morning briefing summary that was sent by my VA and give me a summary of it, right? Anything you want, this bot can effectively do, given that it's connected to the correct tools and that you ask it to do that, and then it will improve over time. So the most kind of common example that people like to use for these bots is something like a morning briefing. So I'll give you an example. I would like you to go research the top 3 trending topics in AI, just grab the top 3 results and give me a quick briefing of those, just a concise summary. Okay, so this is something that we might want to do frequently. So I'm first just going to ask it to do this just so we can see what the response is. And then once we get a response, we may want to refine what it looks like, maybe have a template or something. And then we can tell it, hey, okay, now I want you to do this every day at 9 a.m. And it will set up something called a cron job. Now, cron jobs are just repeatable tasks that are going to run at every set increment. So it could run every hour, every 5 hours, every Tuesday, every Monday at 9 a.m., whatever. You can tell it to run at any increment and it will just automatically set it up. Okay, now it looks like it's in the process of doing the web search here. So let's wait for that to finish. Then we'll come right back. Okay, so you can see that it gave me the response here. So let's just assume this looks good. Obviously, we could tell it to improve it if we want. I'm going to say, okay, this looks good. Now I'd like you to do this every day at 9 a.m. Boom, and we're just going to tell it that, and it should automatically know that it needs to do this using a cron job, and it can set up the cron. Now, we'll just show you. I'll show you here. If we go to the guides and tutorials, and we go to tutorial daily briefing bot, we can see that there's actually commands that you can run, like /cron, add, and then we can set this increment using a pattern that I'm not going to get into, and then just put the prompt on what you want to run. Now, the bot will just be able to do this for us, so we don't need to run that job. But the point is there's all these different commands and tools the bot has access to that allow it to do this, right? And behind the scenes, it's using something called a cron. Now, there are a lot of other things behind the scenes that the bot will use, but the point is that it's always just going to be easier for us to tell it to run that, and it will just figure it out, run it for us, and now we're good to go. Now, it's asking us what time zone should we use, so I'm just going to say use EST. Okay, and then tell it that. And now hopefully it should set it up so we have the correct time zone. All right, so it looks like it's set up. I might just want to clarify because it's asking me a question here about US Eastern time. Regardless, I'm just going to leave it at this. The point is, yes, you can set it up. It can do a cron, and that is that. Now, where this starts to get more powerful is when you start to connect it to external services. So you connect it to Notion, you connect it to Google Drive, you connect it to Facebook ads. Now, I'm not going to cover that in this video because that's more advanced and also more nuanced because there's so many different integrations. But if you guys want a tutorial on that, then definitely let me know, and I'd be happy to go more in depth on Hermes agent. Now, at this point, I'm going to end the video here. This is the required setup that I think gets you 90% of the way there. After this, it's really about being creative, asking it to do things that are actually useful for you, and then just using it a lot. Because again, the way this works is that it self-improves. So it will build skills on its own. It will improve memory. It actually saves memory artifacts by default and overwrites old memories when it needs to. It has a full session history, so anything you've ever said to it, it will be able to remember and pull up in the past if you kind of instruct it to do that. So anyways, with that said, guys, that's going to wrap up this video. Let me know what else you want to see with Hermes Agent. Hope you enjoyed. If you did, leave a like, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.